In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. May God's peace, mercy, and blessings be upon you and my loved ones. O Lord, today we will be delving into the evolving and rapid events concerning the International Monetary Fund loan, as Professor Saddam will discuss after Mr. President's request for the fund to review the loan. Because there is popular pressure opposing national security, he applauds.
The last thing I want to talk about is a topic. The economic crisis and the path of reform are connected, and we also worked on this matter, meaning two programs, a program in 2010 years, and we succeeded in it. But I succeeded in it not only with our efforts, but with the stability of the situation. Regional and international, than we were now. As for the current program that we are working on, which is important, and this is a message that I say to us and to the international institutions concerned with this matter, the fund, the World Bank, and all institutions, that we are working on this program in light of severe regional, international, and global conditions, the difficulty of which has negative effects, very on the economy of the entire world. It is said that it will remain in the Korean economic potential during the next few years as a result of the repercussions of this matter, since we are not part of the world economy. Our program, which we're working on, must take everything into account. The challenges that I am talking about are these. And when we come, we say that we have lost $6,000–$7,000 in just the past 7 and 18 months, and that this matter is possible, that it will continue with us for another year. As a result of the primaries that we are seeing, it remains as the program that we agree on with the fund, and this is an important thing I say to the government, and saying to myself, if this challenge will make us subject to public advancement in a way that people cannot bear, the situation must be reviewed.
From the beginning, from the first referendum, the IMF, the International Transport Fund, the International Monetary Fund are known to everyone and to the entire world. It is the last way to international devastation to international devastation. Every project entered into it. There is a state. She ended up bankrupt. Argentina at the present time is the biggest example of this. And whoever is or has a debt, and Argentina has a debt to the IMF of about $43,000. The Republic of Egypt comes in second number. It is said that it will eat $1,000. But with the last loan, Abu 8, I think it reached 20,000. Of course, our state does not have transparency. We do not care, nor do we care about the people, nor do we care about the media, which of course follows the state. That is, transparency in events and at least in economic changes, the graph. In front of you, Your Honor, the countries that have loans from the IMF, the first of which is Argentina. Following which, at number 2, is Egypt. Okay, let's do the chess story of the current loan that we have with my type for $8,000. How much in March of this year, year 2D 2024? Signing a so-called IMF loan of $8,000. In fact, it is not a new loan, nor is it, but it is a rediscussion and development of the first loan, which was $3,000 and was signed in December 2022. But at the end of the 23rd and 24th, Egypt was in the same circumstances. I asked the IMF to reassess the loan and raise it to $8,000. Okay, with what? The new $8,000 loan is an extension of the $3,000 loan. All that happened is that the value increased from $3,000 to $8,000 with the addition of new months from the IMF. It controls the movements of the Egyptian economy and the actions of the government. And some conditions were dictated that we will discuss later together.
IMF Conditions 1. a flexible and reliable exchange rate regime to tighten monetary policy, additionally constitute to preserve inflation 3 days, control financial conditions to maintain debt sustainability, 4. Slow infrastructure spending, providing adequate levels of protection for vulnerable groups, 6. Unleashing the private sector, and the exit of the public and government sectors, cause the complete elimination of subsidies.
All right, are these circumstances? President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's current access, which is a request from the fund to reconsider? For the loan, Abu 8,000, was this not present when the first loan, which is 3,000, was signed in December of the year 22? No, it existed. Nothing's new here. What else? What are these circumstances? I counted 12. Number one, the Gaza war was there. The Etnan tiger was there in the desert if there would be a war on Lebanon, because Israel was demanding that Hezbollah return to what was behind the Italian fire. At the same time, Hezbollah was threatening Israel that it would not stop striking northern Israel unless the war stopped. Gaza is number three. Iran planted, which was present in Syria and Iraq, and forms part of the ongoing war in the Levant region in general. 4. Houthis in Yemen and his attack on ships passing through Bab al-Mandab. This naturally had an impact on the Suez Canal, and the income in the Suez Canal fell by about 60 to 70% of its value, or the value of the income, which was approaching $10,000. Here I would like to follow and say that the circumstances were between December 22 and March 24, which is the period that was the 3,000 loan, and the government commissioned to review it, and they raised it to 8,000 are the same circumstances. Carter Kuhn there is that intensity, but it has not changed. So now Mr. President is normal. Check for the third time. These reasons are quickly summarized for him, highlighting that the primary issue lies within this century and under the conditions set by the International Monetary Fund. On the Republic of Egypt, so what are the conditions of the heart?
IMF conditions, an oasis of a flexible and reliable exchange rate regime to tighten monetary policy, additional constitutes to preserve inflation 3 days, control financial conditions to maintain debt sustainability, 4. Slow spending on infrastructure, provide adequate levels to protect vulnerable groups, 6. Unleash the private sector and exit the public sector and government. The reason for the complete elimination of support.
Number one, flexible and reliable exchange rate system. To manage economic strain, repeating monetary policy efforts is essential to further reduce inflation rates. If 1 and 2 were to observe training together, he would understand the pound falling further and further against the dollar. Inflation increases. Number 3, adjusting the financial situation to maintain the ability to bear debt, the ability to repay it. Number 4, increase spending on the structure, gift. Number 5, ensuring adequate levels of social reasoning is imperative to safeguard vulnerable groups from adverse impacts. Ensuring sufficient levels of social spending is critical to protect vulnerable groups and to promote equal opportunities for all. Economic growth is completely transitioning to being driven by private sector factions. It is crucial to eventually lift and eliminate support entirely. Among the unspoken aspects, a significant one is the government workforce, which currently numbers around 7,000 employees. The developed countries need one person to serve each of the 7,000 people. If we count them, we will find that each employee is counted as serving 15 members of the people, and therefore they consider this to be a warehouse. For the currency powers cancel the defeat and demand that the government get rid of about 6 and 500,000 employees. More important than that too, no one announces it in the media that there is an insistence on the IMF to completely remove the Egyptian army from the economy. Does this apply to civilian projects undertaken by the Army, like the engineering board building villages or building buildings? Or they mean violins? Military industries is something that is not clear. My question is a point from the first professor. Did the fund impose these conditions? Or as the Prime Minister claimed, that the fund didn't impose conditions on us? Rather, we are the ones who planned the economic strategic plan for the Egyptian government. I agreed to it. A salute to the Prime Minister's Medical Video Scenes Fund for its efforts.
The discussion was about the economic trajectory. The subject of the fund's program was raised. It is the fund that moves Egypt, and it is the one that dictates conditions for Egypt. I want to assure you that this is not happening. The state sets clear targets. I agree with the fund on targets. I say throughout the program with you, I will aim with you that we achieve a primary budget surplus with a number every year. I want to go down at the end of the program because the debt remains with a certain number. The external debt system is transferred in a certain way. The size of the increase in the contribution of the private sector will remain at a certain number. We are the ones who set these numbers and targets and begin in cooperation with the fund. What are the mechanisms for implementing them? What do you sometimes disagree about? It happens at times. He may keep telling you no. Implement this in a short period of time. I tell him no. The circumstances are our state's. It is not possible for me to implement it during this period. I must extend it for a certain period so that it does not have repercussions. In a specific way, this remains the space in which a kind of balance occurs in order to reach something that remains acceptable, but the real targets are the Egyptian state that will be set.
We watched the video of Dr. Matkuli's words about the terms of the loan. This is the Egyptian government's economic strategy. I see it as an irresponsible six lacking in foresight. Also, the loan dates back to December 22nd, and its value has changed. March 24 means the period between December 2010. March 3/24 is 14 or 15 months. It is assumed that the entire loan itself, including what has reached 8,000, is considered a start. December 22nd marks a span of 46 years. When we remove 15 years from 46, we love her. I am 31 years old. I have all the previous conditions that we mentioned, which are 7 conditions that are supposed to expire and achieve 100% within 30 months. I mean, we are talking about 25 and 26. And the possibility of the first 2 months, or 327, has this government studied the side effects of this line? The plan is that in 30 months it will lift subsidies on all fuel, electricity, bread, etc. This means that from March this year to October, it raised the price of fuel, for example, 3 times, and raised the price of electricity from between 30 to 60%, as it claims. In fact, everyone who uses the prepaid electricity meter says it is more than 100%. Or if the government conspires against the Egyptian citizen, at the same time the government shelters more than 20,000 refugees, but the state calls them guests. All corners of Africa, especially Sudan, and from the Arab world, Syria, Libya, Yemen, and Sudan, have different sects, and orientations. And there are many Sudanese residing in Egypt currently affiliated. For quick support, the primary probability is the secondary one, with the highest acceptance as dictated by the fund's conditions. As evidenced by the fact that Egypt was required to inspect every time before paying the installment, which is required twice a year, before releasing this amount that is spent in each installment, which is about $1.3 a point from the beginning of the roof. Now we say, Dr. Mustafa, if there is no chest opening, no plaster cast, and the media, thinkers, and the elite are talking, what about the common people? Do you? Do you think Egypt will benefit from this loan? Egypt is obliged to pay the installments and interest of the debt to the fund itself as follows. In the year 23, Egypt paid 1,910 Zorla $1,000. This year, 24, it should pay $5,500,000. Next year, 25, it should pay $9,200,000. This amount is just for the fund. We are unaware of the other terms, the second exit or long exit. What do you mean? I mean, I will take 8DD, $8,000 for us to pay off my debt. This is the same fund and the result in the end. I see the humiliation of the Egyptian citizen. Suppose that is Dr. Mustafa. If Shirk you were told, if you were my country, please leave her immediately. Other than you, can he remove the country? Finally, everyone, I wish you endless happiness and abundant health. May the Lord guide us out of the current predicament we are facing. I will see you soon in an exciting special series related to this topic. In his book, The Assassination of Nations, John Perkins elaborated on this extensively. Because Egypt has entered a vicious circle and will not emerge from it peacefully, but if God wills, peace comes from God Almighty. Peace be upon you.
And to Egypt, in about 10 days. For that very reason, I would like to see for myself what's going on in Egypt. I would like to listen to different opinions, and we will look at how to support the fund from the perspective of what's better for Egypt. And we have been very open to the possibility of modifying the program, or any program, of course, for what is best to serve the people. I also say that we will not do our job for the country and for the people of the country if we acted as if actions could be ignored and should be executed.
In most of the world, it is. A soft landing is imminent, but people aren't feeling good about their economic prospects. All we ask here is, how is your economy? They say it's good. How did it work? People, they say not well. Households are still being hurt by rising prices, and global growth is weak.
Ian government that President Sisi to reform the economy. It is for Egypt, not for the fund. A strong, vibrant economy will attract more foreign. Es gibt nicht, dass sie nicht nur das in Egypt. Work harder for the Egyptian people. We are constantly monitoring changes and determining if adjustments to the program are needed, which we will implement. Again, this time, we're delivering some great news for Egypt. We have reformed our charges and surcharges, bringing the cost to our borrowers down, the savings for Egypt over. The course of our program would be $800 million. That is a very significant saving. So in GOC, we are responding to this call for the fund to do all we can to help our more vulnerable members with this reduction of charges and surcharges.
Starting the game from the beginning with us? The world, my friend. She never seemed to reprimand me. An Indian whose land is with tomorrow with my heart, with my knowledge of jihad, and for my heart, my accreditation, I will answer you with Gadama. Hey, Great Club, let me know what you're thinking.
At the club and my Tikriti all holiday.